As I said, I would be on the East Coast for the next update. I am here in a hotel room that is about to kick us out any second. Mandatory evacuation from this hotel room was at 10 o'clock. It is 10:06. They're probably going to knock on the hotel room door any second. So before I kick this video off, I just want to let you guys know that revenue from these videos will go towards hurricane relief, and supplies will be sent to the worst affected areas. I know the Bahamas are just getting absolutely smoked right now. They're probably going to need the most help. So if you drop a like on this video and drop a comment, it's for a good cause, and we really appreciate it. I'm going to try to do updates as often as I can. However, where we're staying could face power outages. If that's the case, look to my Instagram. I will be posting on my Instagram frequently. I will be uploading updates on my Instagram story. That's how it was during the last hurricane. We lost power. It was extremely hard to upload YouTube videos, so I had to stick with my Instagram, and there was some crazy damage. So we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can before they kick us out. So for those of you who don't know, I've been tracking storms as a hobby my entire life. I'm not a professional weatherman. It's just a hobby of mine. Do not take anything I say too seriously. Just giving you guys my opinion and my perspective on the storm, just to try to keep you guys safe and to educate you guys. I have to say that as a disclaimer so that nobody says JoogSquad says this and I did this and it's all his fault. So 2 days ago we had some good news for Florida, but as I said, these are so unpredictable. You have to watch these storms very closely until the end. You cannot count yourself out of the equation until this storm completely passes you. Another thing, just because this storm's eye doesn't make landfall, you will still see some insane winds, crazy flooding from storm surge, and crazy flooding from rain. The storm doesn't have to directly hit Florida to see the full effects of this storm. With that being said, landfall is still a possibility. Models have shifted west towards Florida again. The storm is still currently a Category 5 with 180 mile an hour sustained winds and over 200 mile an hour gusts. We thought this storm would stay away from Florida because there's a high pressure system pushing it away from Florida, but it is a very weak front. They call these steering currents. It's what push and pull the storm, but this is a Category 5, and it is one of the most incredible storms I've ever seen in my entire life. As you guys can see from these satellite images, this storm is just ridiculous. And if you look at it compared to Andrew, it is absolutely massive, far bigger and far more powerful than Andrew, which caused devastation across Florida. Andrew was horrible. It wrecked Florida, and this storm is way stronger. This morning's update says the storm has basically stopped moving. The official NHC National Hurricane Center update says it's moving west at 1 mile an hour, barely moving, but still moving towards Florida. Again, sustained winds, 180 mile an hour, gusts of over 200 miles an hour. The Eurotrack here is showing the storm moving west as well. Everyone on the east coast of Florida definitely needs to be prepared for the worst. They're predicting 100 mile an hour winds along the whole east coast of Florida. I know there's a lot of people in Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina watching, and I will go into those states in a little bit. For now, I'd like to focus on what's going to be directly affected, and first and foremost, that's Florida. Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina still definitely need to watch this storm closely because they are predicting it will sweep up the east coast towards Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, according to everything we know. As I've said 100 times, you have to keep a close eye on these storms. The tropics are looking insane right now with 5 potential systems at once. The peak of the hurricane season isn't even until September 10th, so we're approaching the peak of the season right now. That's just another thing to be aware of. So for now, I'm going to go to Windy and check out the Windy map. This is a website that I like to use just because it has cool graphics. People like it. That is where we are currently. That storm is way too close to Florida for comfort. And if we tick into Monday, it's kind of just sitting still, but still moving west, slowly ticking west. This is Tuesday, move into Wednesday. It's getting very close to Florida, moving up towards Jacksonville. While it does not show that the eye of the hurricane will make landfall in Florida on this model, other models are saying that it could, so you just have to be aware. All the way up to Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, eventually scraping landfall, making landfall in North Carolina, near the Outer Banks. So that's what Windy's saying, something to be aware of. I'm going to go to the National Hurricane Center again and go over everything they have. So we have these 2 systems on each side of Dorian. Typically, the storms move in uniform. Like, these storms will typically follow each other. So wherever this storm goes, that storm goes. I mean, obviously, I'm sure hurricane is going to be the one that drives these storms. But if you look at the wind history, if you were to draw a line, it looks like the storm is heading straight towards Florida. So that's a very interesting graphic. They're saying it's going to miss Florida, but that just looks crazy. Wind speed probabilities we have here. East coast of Florida, 90 to 100% chance of tropical storm force winds, which is expected. But I mean, we've watched how much this thing has changed in the last couple of days. It's just proof that nobody really knows. Tuesday is going to be pretty much the big day, the telling day for Florida when it comes down to it. And the entire state of Florida is could potentially have tropical storm force winds. So that's another thing to just be aware of. We're going to go to Spaghetti Models, Mike's weather page. He's like the guy that I go to for information. He's very educated on this stuff. We're going to look at the H-Wharf really quickly. Check this model run. Creeping along towards Florida. This actually showed it making landfall earlier than other models. It seems to be staying off the coast a little bit. Just scraping by Jacksonville, heading up north. And making landfall in South Carolina. GFS shows it getting way too close. Slamming the whole East Coast. Another thing to note is that anywhere north of the storm is going to get really bad storm surge until it passes and the storm is to the north of you. Because with the way the storm is rotating, anywhere north of the storm is going to have heavy onshore winds that's going to push all the water up onto the shore. Another thing to note is the king tide is a huge factor for this. It is the highest tide of the year during a hurricane with storm surge. So when it's high tide, a lot of areas are going to be flooding when the storm is as close as it'll get to Florida. Best advice I can give you guys is just to watch this thing closely. It's still too early to tell where the storm's going to go. I don't think anyone's really going to know where the storm goes until after it happens, but you just have to keep a close eye on it. You can't count anywhere on the east coast of Florida safe. I would say maybe Miami. I don't think is going to take a direct hit because the common trend for this storm is going north, northwest, and then eventually northeast. Right now it's moving due west at 1 mile an hour though. You could run away from the storm faster than it moves towards Florida. I wouldn't recommend it though. But that's what we have as of right now. We'll check out some more models. Tropical alerts. This shows tropical storm watch, hurricane watch, tropical storm warning, and hurricane warning. So this pink area where it's hurricane watch will turn into a hurricane warning, but they have to label these warnings according to how far away the hurricane is. I don't think that they can put up hurricane warnings until 36 hours before expected conditions, but most of the state of Florida right now is at least under tropical storm watch. Where I currently am is under hurricane warning. Marsh Harbor, obviously the Bahamas in hurricane warning. They're just getting drilled right now with a record-breaking storm that they've never seen anything like. That's it. I'm surprised I haven't gotten kicked out of the hotel. We got to pack everything up. We got to go find somewhere else to stay. It's kind of ridiculous that they're going to kick everyone out of a hotel and make them go somewhere else, but I guess it's a liability. Sorry, getting updates from the locals. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright, there's another thing that's interesting, and this just proves what I was talking about. Andrew was planned to hit West Palm Beach last minute, turned and hit Homestead as a Category 5. Charlie planned to hit Tampa. This is a storm I actually evacuated for. Last hour or so, turned and hit Punta Gorda as a Cat 4. Katrina, they all went to bed saying planning for it to hit the Panhandle. Last minute hit New Orleans. Too late for people to evacuate. Category 3, but catastrophic flooding. Matthew headed for North Palm Beach County. Last minute curved the whole East Coast, sparing a direct hit, but caused deaths and storm surge, flooding up the East Coast. Irma European model, the one that everyone trusts so much, said to hit West Palm Beach, went down, hit the Keys, and then went across and hit Naples area, Immokalee. That's when we went and ran all the supplies. Just because it moved off the coast, you have no idea. There's no form of measurement for a Category 5 stalling hurricane. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. And especially the given area. There's never been a storm this strong in this area. This is the strongest storm in recorded history to hit the Bahamas. And if it hits Florida, it'll be the strongest storm in recorded history to make landfall in Florida. They consider landfall half of the eye wall passing over land. And that doesn't need to happen to see the full effects of a storm like this. If it passes by Florida with the eye 30 miles off the coast, it's still going to be devastation across the East Coast with over 100-mile-an-hour winds. So that's just another thing to note. We're going to go try to figure out where else we can stay. I have some other friends who live close by and some hurricane, I don't want to say hurricane proof, but up to code condos with hurricane shutters. I don't know. It's early, bear with me, but we got to leave. They're making everyone leave the hotel. I just had to give you guys a quick update. Now I have to go find somewhere with internet to upload this video, and just stay up to date on my Instagram. And I will see you there. And hopefully I'll definitely, I mean, I'm not going to say definitely, but I think I'll be able to upload another update tomorrow before it gets too crazy. Hopefully we don't lose power at all, but I mean, you never plan on losing power. It just always happens. Yeah, this thing's crazy. Just keep your eye on it. Everyone keep an eye on it. Watch for updates. I'll post as many updates on my Instagram story as I can. I'll try to post YouTube updates. I'll probably end up posting one at 5 p.m. today, 6 p.m. possibly, depending on how crazy this storm gets. But you have to keep your eye on it until it's gone, because this is something that no one's ever seen before. It's the second strongest storm in recorded history in the entire United States. That's not good. It is definitely the most dangerous hurricane to get this close to Florida. We're going to play it by ear. See you guys in a little bit.